a long way. Amen. Amen. We came through, slavery and segregation and all the things that the African Americans had to come through, but we made it. But we still haven't got to the end yet. Amen. Amen. Jay, I don't know if anybody is familiar with good times. Everybody familiar with good times? Okay, James Evans said this. He says that you're issued a uniform. You got to be proud of the uniform that you was issued. Now I've been black for 49 years. I can't change this uniform. Amen. And I think I'm going to die black. Amen. And what I'm saying is that everybody should be proud of who they are. No matter where you're from, you should be proud. Amen. Yeah, not pride. Now we're supposed to take pride in all the accomplishments that we have accomplished. But when I say proud, like James Brown said, he said that say it loud, I'm black and I'm proud. Now for my young people, if you look at the documentary of James Brown, when he first came out with this song, he said, James, we love the song, but we want you to change something. I want y'all to catch this. He said, we want you to change the lyrics to say it loud, I'm black, but I'm proud. Did you catch that? The objection, yeah. Go back and look at the documentary. They said, say it loud, I'm black, but I'm proud. James Brown said, no, sir. I'm black and I'm proud. And now we have to remember that, that Dr. Martin Luther King, his fight wasn't just for African Americans, but it was for everyone. And it wasn't just for everyone, it was for what? Equality for everyone. So when we celebrate Dr. Martin Luther King, because that's the person that everybody learns about in school, like he's the only one that contributed to our history, but that's the one that they feel safe, to always mention. But we should, because he was our black Moses. Amen? Amen. Amen. So I want to bring up my wife. I want her to talk about someone. Now, before you say this, come on up. As we was preparing for, we all family, right? Amen? And as we was preparing for this, we normally do Black History every year at the juvenile facility. I was at the juvenile facility for probably maybe over 10 or 15 years. And we would go there every year to do a Black History presentation. And we would always bring out the old people that, contribute and everything, and we'll mention something new. But here's what the challenge is for today. Because we're not going to bring out all the old and all the new, but it's up to the parents. It's up to each and every parent here to go home and start talking about all the ones who contribute to bringing us here today. Amen? Yeah, start telling your kids about all the notable people that has paved the way, not only for us, but for us to have our first black president. And it's not just about the African Americans. We have Jamaicans, we have Trinidad, we have Haitians, we have all different nationalities here. But we got to start telling our history instead of somebody else telling us our history. Yeah. Amen? Amen. So we don't have a lot of people to share, but we want to share these certain people. Amen? Amen.
Harriet Tubman.
Hey, could you take a page? Where'd she go? Where'd she go? I think she took one. Okay.
Harriet Tubman was an American abolitionist and political activist. Born into slavery, Tubman escaped and subsequently made some 13 missions to rescue approximately 70 enslaved people, including family and friends, using the network of anti-slavery activists and safe houses known as the Underground Railroad. During the American Civil War, she served as an armed scout and spy for the Union Army. In her later years, Tubman was an activist in the struggle for women's suffrage. Born a slave in Dorchester County, Maryland, Tubman was beaten and whipped by her various masters as a child. Early in life, she suffered a traumatic head wound when an irate slave owner threw a heavy metal weight intended to hit another slave, but hit her instead. The injury caused dizziness, pains, and spells of hypersomnia, which occurred throughout her entire life. After her injury, Tubman began experiencing strange visions and vivid dreams, which she ascribed to premonitions from God. These experiences, combined with her Methodist upbringing, led her to become devoutly religious. In 1849, Tubman escaped to Philadelphia, then immediately returned to Maryland to rescue her family. Slowly, one group at a time, she brought relatives with her out of the state and eventually guided dozens of others to freedom. Traveling by night and in extreme secrecy, Tubman, or Moses as she was called, never lost a passenger. After the Fugitive Slave Act of 1850 was passed, she helped guide fugitives farther north in British North America and helped newly freed slaves find work. Tubman met John Brown in 1858 and helped him plan and recruit supporters for his 1859 raid on Harper's Ferry. When the Civil War began, Tubman worked for the Union Army, first as a cook, then as a nurse, then as an armed scout and spy. The first woman to lead an armed expedition in the war, she guided the raid at Combahee Ferry, which liberated more than 700 slaves. After the war, she retired to the family home on property she had purchased in Auburn, New York, where she cared for her aging parents. She was active in the women's suffrage movement until illness overtook her and she had to be admitted to a home for elderly African Americans, a home that she helped to establish years earlier. After her death in 1913, she was almost 100 years old. She became an icon of courage and freedom. On April 20th, 2016, then U.S. Treasury Secretary Jack Lew announced plans to add a portrait of Tubman to the front of the $20 bill, moving the portrait of President Andrew Jackson, himself a slave owner, to the rear of the bill. Lew instructed the Bureau of Engraving and Printing to expedite the redesign process, and the new bill was expected to enter circulation sometime after 2020. However, in 2017, U.S. Secretary Stephen Mnuchin said that he would not commit to putting Tubman on the $20 bill, saying, "People have been on the bills for a long period of time. This is something we'll consider. Right now, we have a lot more important issues to focus on."
Amen. Beautiful.
Wonderful, that was awesome. That was Harriet Tubman. I want to talk to you about somebody that you don't know. This woman is an unsung hero. Now, for all of you Floridians, I'm sure you have heard of Mary McLeod Bethune, right? If you went to school in Florida, I know you've heard of her, right? She was a college-educated, now listen, she was a college-educated, free Black woman who founded the Daytona Normal and Industrial School for Negro Girls in 1914. Get that year, 1914. Guess what? There was a woman, and I'm sure she's not the only one, but there was a woman who founded a school 9 years before Mary McLeod Bethune, who was born not free, not educated. She wasn't educated. She was born a slave. And the way I found out about this remarkable woman was from a church I used to attend in Manassas, Virginia. When they would do new member orientation, they would take the new members to the foundation, to the church that was the original building. And this church was founded by this remarkable woman that I'm about to tell you about. Her name is Jane Surrepta Dean. And her nickname was Jennie. They called her Jennie Dean. But her name was, she was born Jane Surrepta Dean. She was born a slave in Northern Virginia and freed as a result of the American Civil War, along with many, many others, and became an important founder of not only that school, but she founded churches, she founded Sunday schools for African Americans in Northern Virginia. This remarkable woman was not educated, yet when she was 16, she went to D.C., if any of you are familiar how close Washington, D.C. is to Northern Virginia. She traveled to D.C. and worked in D.C. as a maid and saved her money and sent it back home so that her two sisters could go to school. This woman was selfless and remarkable. One of her sisters became a teacher and helped her to found the school years later. Jennie Dean founded the Manassas Industrial School for Colored Youth in 1893, 9 years before Mary McLeod Bethune's school was founded. The Manassas Industrial School for Colored Youth, which for more than 40 years was the only institution of secondary education, high school, available to African American youth in Northern Virginia, and only one of 2 in the entire state of Virginia. By the time her school opened, it took 3 years to raise the money, by the way, and she had a lot of people helping her, as you know, to do something remarkable. You never work alone. By the time the school opened, Jennie had become so well known through her travels and her efforts to raise money for the school. She was so well connected that when the school opened in 1893, Frederick Douglass was among the speakers at the dedication ceremony of the school. And later in 1906, Jennie Dean was invited to the White House to meet President Theodore Roosevelt at the invitation of Booker T. Washington. This former slave, this uneducated woman, went from the outhouse to the White House because of one burning desire to see her people hated so they could live better lives. Now, the school she founded no longer exists. It's now a 70-acre city park with a memorial to Dean as founder. And Miss Dean now graces an elementary school, Miss Dean's name graces an elementary school next to the park. It's called Jennie Dean Elementary School. Miss Dean died in 1913, but the Library of Virginia honored Dean in 2000 as one of its inaugural class of Virginia Women in History, and in 2013 as part of its Strong Men and Women series. Also, I just want to tell you, Jennie Dean never got married. Her 2 sisters married, but Jennie Dean never did. This woman was selfless, she was remarkable, she was totally committed to seeing her people educated and to them living better lives. Jennie Dean, an African-American unsung hero.
And now we have Faith Robinson.
I would like to tell you about a little girl named Ruby Bridges. Before she was able to go to a white school, in her black school she had to take a very hard test, but she was very smart. She was an all-A student and was able to go to the school that she wanted to go to for a better education. One day, when she was in school, all the parents decided to take out their children because just of Ruby Bridges. People would try to threaten her, people would try to hurt her. And later on, when Ruby went to school more often, her father lost her job at the gas station he was working at. Her grandparents lost their house, but the Ruby Bridges family stayed strong.
Amen.
Thank you so much. Is there anybody else here that would like to present anyone notable? Anyone? Any kids? Can anyone tell me who started Black History Month?
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm from Haiti. I can let you speak about Black History Sunday. We start talking about what Haiti represents in kind of history. I'm not too good in English because I speak French and Creole, but I feel that I'm very conscious about what we're talking about because I'm from Haiti, the first black republic which participated of the revolution of black people all over the world.
Amen.
So that's why I just want to let you know that Haiti is the first black republic all over the world. Thank you.
Amen.
I just wanted to share a moment with you guys. So I remember a few years ago, I was younger and I watched a movie. It was called 12 Years a Slave. I don't know if you guys know that movie.
Yeah.
And I found myself crying for some reason. I didn't know why, because I didn't know any of the people in the movie, or I know the movie wasn't real, but the events that were happening in the movie were very real. And even though I did not have to go through that myself, I still felt that, and it really spoke to me. And I remember, like, I couldn't sleep. Like, it was like a nightmare for me. So I just want to say, like, even if you see a brother or a sister of yours that may not be related to you genetically, we've all been through the same events. We've all had our ancestors go through the same things.
Amen.
So I just wanted to let you guys know that you should support each other, lift each other up.